Okay, so for those of you who are tuning in on video and Facebook Live, just know that this is a radio show. And because it's a radio show, we will have to take hard breaks and there will be interruptions. So I'm sorry about that. I really wish that I could do this show without any breaks or interruptions, but we do have to comply by the requests and the guidelines of the radio station. With that in mind, just know that if you're watching at Lillian's radio show on Facebook Live, you can interact, you can ask our guests questions. Today we have Beth Greer, and Beth Greer is the author of Supernatural Home. And of course, I'm going to introduce her when we're on the air, and you will be able to ask you her questions, or you can ask her your questions. And here we go. So fasten your seatbelt. We're going to learn and grow together. I know the music is going to come on. It's time to dance, Beth.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who've been tuning in to the show, the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, since 2011, or maybe you just heard the show for the first time yesterday, welcome back. But if this is the first time that you've stumbled upon the show, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place that you can go to when you need a friend. And it is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal. It is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, just know that you can ask and interact with us at any time, and we will take your questions during the break. And for those of you who are tuning in on the radio or watching on YouTube, all of us, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or radio, all of us will have an opportunity to win the book called Supernatural Home. And let me share with you, in doing research for this show, I stumbled upon a hero from 1962, and the author of the environmental classic Silent Spring. Her name is Rachael Carson, and she wrote this quote: "From the first time in history of the world, every human being is now subjected to contact with dangerous chemicals from the moment of conception until death. Unfortunately, sometimes we must go through our own health crisis in order to discover our calling." And that's what happened to Beth Greer, our guest today. She's the author of Supernatural Home, and unfortunately, she is no exception. She discovered and has become an expert, and is known to be an expert for sustainable and toxic-free living. She is an award-winning journalist and was named one of the top 50 health and environmental journalists to follow. And I'm telling you, you'll want to get this book as well. Beth will share how she became aware that the toxins in her environment were affecting her health, and she will also teach us what we can do to create our own natural green home. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I'm so grateful that Beth Greer is here to do just that. Welcome, Beth, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Thanks, Lily. Great to be here.
I'm glad that you are. And so for those of you, once you hear about Beth, you're going to want this book. It's the 10th anniversary of this book. It's called Supernatural Home. Be the 10th caller, texter, or if you're watching on Facebook Live, send me a message, a private message, or on YouTube, you can send me an email at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. The number to call is 407-373-5959. So share a little bit about your background and how you stumbled upon your health, your passion today.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So let's see, it was about 17 years ago. I thought I was leading a healthy lifestyle. I was running a company, a large adult education company called the Learning Annex, where I got to meet people like Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson and, John Gray, and Wayne Dyer was one of my favorites too. So anyway, so I was meditating. I thought I was eating well. I didn't smoke. I had a daily meditation practice. I would invite my staff into my office and we'd meditate for 20 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. So it came as this complete shock to discover that I had this tumor in my chest. So it started out where I felt pain in my shoulder, and I went to the chiropractor. After 5 sessions, it was getting worse. He said, you need to get an MRI. And that's when they discovered I had a mass in my chest. It was the size of a tennis ball. It was, big. And it was pressing on the nerves that ran down my arm. And I had it biopsied, and it was benign. It wasn't cancerous, but all the 3 top Bay Area surgeons I went to all agreed that I needed to have surgery immediately because it could turn cancerous at any minute. The fear was like off the charts. Yeah. But they couldn't agree on how to access this. So one wanted to cut me under my collarbone to get it, and the second one wanted to go in under my armpit, and then the third surgeon said, no, we're going to go in behind in your back and take out one of your ribs, and then we'll put some mesh in there. I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not doing that. And so as luck would have it, I had booked myself for just a week of R&R at a place in San Diego called the Optimal Health Institute. Mm-hmm. So, and what they have there is it's all raw food and juicing and eating basically just wheatgrass juice and doing inner colonics and also sort of communicating with our quote-unquote disease. And I asked, for guidance, and what came back was it said simplify. And so I realized that that was the perfect thing to do, is to simplify. And we're going to continue our conversation with Beth Greer when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. Please remember, 10th caller or texter, 407-373-5959. Get the book Supernatural Home, or you can send me a private message on Lillian's radio show at Facebook Live. We'll be right here waiting for you.
Right here waiting for you.
Perfect. Okay, so this is a great start. This is how it happens with us. And I want to tap into fear. And I don't know if we're going to take that into the live conversation or the radio show conversation, but let's talk about fear. When you hear you have a tumor the size of a tennis ball, the first thing you do, you want to rip it off and you're scared, right? So they could have told you to do anything.
Totally scared. The thing is, I think what helped me was going to all those workshops with all these sort of amazing teachers, mm-hmm. and having faith and having trust that something was going to be revealed, because the surgeons all said it was very risky surgery, that I could lose the feeling in my hand, my right hand, permanently, because the nerves were wrapped around this thing. So, I felt like I had to give it a shot, doing something else than surgery. And I've seen other people who've had surgery, and there's scar tissue, and they're in pain for the rest of their lives. Yep. And so,
yeah, it's those things that we're not told. We think that the magic cure is going to be to remove it, but that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. And I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Lorraine Day.
Yes, sure.
But she also had, and hers was cancerous.
Right.
And she opted for no chemotherapy. And the same thing, I think she had her tumor removed though. But she did not opt for chemotherapy. But, we don't know. Like they said, it could turn into cancer. Right. I mean, that's a huge fear right there. Rip it out, take it out. But
yes,
how fortunate for you.
But that's all they know how to do, and the doctors, and this is how they're trained.
Yes.
So, I mean, they'll say chemo, they'll say radiation, and surgery. But I was looking for the root cause. Where did this come from?
Good.
And so I took the time. I took this week at OHI, and a miracle sort of happened to me there.
Okay, let's talk about that miracle when we go back on the air. And for those of you who are watching, let us know where you're from and send Beth some love. Send us some love. Okay, here we go. They're about to mute our mics.
When you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show / Classroom, where we always learn and grow together. Today's teacher is Beth Greer, and she is teaching us. She's telling us all about, we're talking about how to create a safe haven, whether it's in you, on you, or around you. And that is what this book is all about. It's called Supernatural Home. It's the 10th anniversary, 10th caller or texter, or someone to send me a message. So the phone number is 407-373-5959. You can call or text. If you're watching live on Facebook, you can send me a private message on Messenger or at Lillian's Radio Show at facebook.com at Lillian's Radio Show. And on YouTube, you can send me an email at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. And so while we're off the air in our discussion, it becomes apparent that fear, whenever we are faced with fear, no good decision comes from that place. And I think, fortunate for Beth Greer, who's our teacher today, 3 doctors gave her 3 different answers. And that would be enough to wake me up, Beth, and say, man, 3 different answers. Who do I pick? What do I do? Maybe I should take a time out, which is what you did, right?
That's exactly right. So, as I said before the break, the word that came to me was to simplify. And so I realized that while I thought I was eating healthy, I was eating out a lot. I was microwaving my food. I wasn't really paying that much attention the way I do now because, especially when you're eating out, what are they cooking? What kind of oil are they using? Most of the time it's canola oil, which is pretty toxic for us.
Yeah.
What's in the salad dressing, and are the meats pasture raised, or the fish wild, or the vegetables organic? So I wasn't paying that close attention. And so after about 3 days of cleansing, doing these green juices and cleansing and meditating, the pain started to diminish. And so I thought, wow, this is interesting. Okay. And when I came home after the week, I thought, well, okay, I was feeling better and better. What else can I simplify? And I remember I had this bottle of Windex that I was using and I was cleaning with. And I looked at the label, and on the back it said, precautionary statement, hazardous to humans and domestic animals, right on the label. And I thought, well, wow, this isn't good. I was spraying down my countertops and my daughter's high chair and all that. So I started doing research. My background is in journalism. I have a master's in journalism, and so I started researching. I realized I can use hydrogen peroxide and white vinegar and baking soda to clean with. And okay, so and then I started, well, what else can I simplify? And then I remember I was putting some moisturizer on my skin, and I happened to look at the bottle, and there was a paragraph worth of chemicals on the bottle. Now, our skin is our largest organ. It emits in microscopic chemicals into our bloodstream really quickly, really quickly. It has an impact on our hormones, on our brain, everything. I mean, people just are not aware because they think that just because it's on the store shelf that it's been tested for safety, when the cosmetics industry is self-regulated. So I switched out to all natural. I started using just coconut oil on my skin and trying to find natural products. And it was harder back then. Now there's just so many, great products to choose from. Well, so to make a long story short, basically doing these things, detoxing my home and my body, it took about 9 months. And then, it was just around my 50th birthday, I remember, the pain just stopped. And then I waited. I was, unsure, but I waited. And then I had, about 6 months later, I had the tumor scanned again, and it had disappeared.
Wow.
So this was like a huge wake-up call to me. Like, our bodies are self-healing if we get out of the way and go back as close to nature as possible. So I did certain things. I was, I drank pure filtered water. I ate organic food. I was out in nature at least an hour a day. I measured and remediated my electromagnetic fields because that's a huge component to our health.
Yeah.
So things like that. And then I started, writing for, I wrote for the San Francisco Chronicle. I had a column there called The Natural Home, and then turned that into a book proposal. And then my book came out. It was endorsed by Deepak Chopra and John Gray, Ralph Nader, and Dr. Mercola. So, yeah.
Yeah, real quick, remind me to tell you a story about Joe Mercola when he was giving a talk. So, it's interesting that we stumble upon these curses in our life. We think this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. Mm-hmm. And then you realize, oh my gosh, this happened for me. That tumor happened. So it gave like a journalist can write about anything and everything. But look at what it led you to find. It led you to find your health and your well-being. Isn't that just amazing? It's
amazing. And that's what I try to find gratitude in everything now. Whatever comes my way, what's the gift here? How do because I know that it is, it's all good. Ultimately, it's all good. We have to step away from fear because it's so easy to get caught up in that, especially when you're watching the news. It's just horrific. So
we can only take the news in spurts. Mm-hmm. So usually my husband is my news maker. So he'll tell me what's going on, and I hear it once and that's it. Instead of hearing it over and over at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then you're listening to the radio. That's why I focus on good news and empowering news that we can, because we have been disempowered through the media in many ways. And so now it's been 10 years. This is your 10th anniversary for Supernatural Home. And have you noticed that things have changed a bit more? I mean, when I was researching Rachael Carson, she was made fun of because she was saying that DDT was horrible, and they were doing everything possible to make her look like a buffoon, like someone who was not saying the truth. And you're speaking the truth for now 10 years. How have things changed for you since you've written this book?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because initially people didn't want to hear about toxins. I would, go give a talk. It's like, no, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. And now it seems like it's on everyone's mind, because I think they're realizing, we are being bombarded with toxins. And how many people do you know who are ill? And children. The incidence of the chronic disease in children is skyrocketing. I mean, it's just, there are diseases that children never had, back in the 60s and 70s, for example, 80s even. And so now, diabetes and Crohn's disease and Lyme disease and it's just cancer, brain tumors. So there's that. I'm getting a lot of referrals from doctors now, because they're saying, because what I do at home here, as I go into people's homes, I do healthy home transformations. So I go into people's homes and help them figure out, usually people with mystery illnesses. They don't, why am I getting headaches now? So I'll go in and I'll find out, what's the cause. So one woman, I said, how long have your headaches been lasting? And she said 17 months. Well, what happened 17 months ago? Well, I remodeled. So all, the carpeting and, so I came in there, my eyes were tearing from all the fumes. And so I had her open the windows, air it out, get air purifiers, and her headaches went away. Or a little boy who, his home was pristine and the mom was organic and using only natural cleaners, but he had headaches for 2 years. And I walked into his bedroom and he had a giant air purifier right next to his headboard. And I said to the mom, "What's this for?" And she said, "Well, he has grass allergies." And I thought the closer the better. And I have a meter, it measures, the fields, and it was huge. So we just moved the air purifier like 6 feet away. And the next morning she called me up in tears to tell me that her son's headaches, this is the first morning in 2 years he woke up without one, and he hasn't had them since. So sometimes it's the simplest things. Another woman who had a chronic cough, one of my clients was, I walked into her bed, she said to me, "When I sleep at a hotel, I don't cough." And it's like, okay, well, there's got to be something going on in your home. So walked into her bedroom, she had about 20 scented candles. And what people need to understand is that, you're smiling, but the fragrance in candles,
Yes.
in the one word fragrance, there can be over 100 synthetic chemicals just in that one catchphrase. Manufacturers are allowed to do that. They're secret ingredients, basically. So she didn't want to get rid of the candles because she said they're so relaxing and some of them are expensive, but I got them in a bag and I just removed them and replaced them with beeswax candles, which has a lovely natural scent. And she has stopped coughing. She's off, all medication. So
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And we don't want to get rid of these things. It's like people that don't want to get rid of meat or maybe reduce their meat animal product intake. And there's like, I can't have anything, I must have my sugar. I must have my meat. And I tell them, well, what you're telling me is that you want to keep your disease, that you want to keep that piece of meat or that candle was more important than their health. What
Right.
are we doing to ourselves? And this is what I love about your book, The Supernatural Home. Of course, be the 10th caller or texter, or if you send me a message at Lillian's radio show, you can win a copy of this book. So what I love about this book is not only are you telling us what the dangers could be, but what we can do to simplify ourselves.
Yeah, it's all filled with solutions.
Yes.
That's what I don't want to freak people out. They've got too much going on already and so I offer very simple solutions, doable things.
Correct. And this is about empowering. It's not about causing fear. It's about thinking, I never thought my candles would make me sick. And here I am taking all this medication for migraines. And it could be as simple as, an air purifier of all things. I had Ellen Jacobs on the show and she said, your blow dryer is emitting EMFs. I'm like, get out. But those are things that are happening to us that we are not even aware. So let's talk briefly about the book here. Let's start with you have the book in 3 sections. You talk about what's in us. And so let's start with food. So that would be the food that's in us and what we can do to eliminate our exposure. What are some of the top offenders that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, so food is the root of most health issues, I believe, and people are experiencing a lot of digestive distress. Mm-hmm. And so you really need to focus on eating the right food for your body, and everybody's different. So that's everybody's different, and some people do very well on organic whole wheat, and some people need to stay away from wheat, for example. But I must say that there are certain foods that that are contaminated with mold, and mold is a huge issue for us now. Most doctors are not aware of it, and so I want people to start thinking about it. And so some of the moldy foods include corn, that's a really big one, and all grains, as well as coffee, unfortunately. Unless you're getting a coffee that's been tested for mold, and some chocolate as well. So I have some things on my website that I recommend. There's a great coffee that's mold tested, for example. But it's really important to another thing, key, eat organic. And I really mean eat organic, Eat
organic. Dr. Lorraine Day says, if you don't want to eat organic, bring me your plate and I'll spray it with Raid and you can eat it. And that's the greatest visual I've ever heard about making us want to have organic. And so for those of you who would like a copy, it's the 10th anniversary of this very well-read book. It's called Supernatural Home. Be the 10th caller texter, 407-373-5959 if you're listening on the radio. On Facebook Live, you can send me a private message on Messenger at Lillian's radio show, and on YouTube, Lily at whenyouneedafriend.com. And we're going to continue our conversation with Beth Greer when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you.
Right here waiting for you.
For those of you who are watching at Lillian's radio show on Facebook Live, feel free to tell us where you're from and let us know if you have a question. You have an expert right here in our classroom. So feel free to ask any questions that you want. Right now, sometimes I don't see these questions, so please be patient with me because I do want to include all of us together. Now, I've been doing a lot of shows, Beth, on fluoridation in the water. And so I would love for you to share the water and how important keeping our water safe for us for drinking as well. So what would you like to?
Sure. Yeah, it's really important to stay hydrated and to drink really pure water. Mm-hmm. So if you go to my website, I've done a ton of research, and I want to make it easy for people because people get so confused. Well, what should I buy? So I have my favorite products on there that I've vetted, and so under my recommended product section. So I have some great water filters, a whole house filter, for example. But the reason I think that it's so important is that water contains pharmaceutical drugs in trace amounts, believe it or not, because it doesn't get filtered out through the water treatment systems. So there's bacteria, there's fungus, there's mold, there's an assortment of things aside from the fluoride, and there's chlorine, they put ammonia in there. So to me, you want to, it's key to drink pure water as close to spring water as possible, so that you want to flush out the toxins, because we've become toxic. There's no doubt about it. All of us are exposed to so many things, from the chemicals in the food, like so glyphosate, for example, is being sprayed. It's the chemical that's found in Roundup weed killer, and so it's being sprayed everywhere, and it's found in our water systems as well. And so, it's causing havoc in our bodies, and there are charts and graphs that show that with the incidence of the high spraying with glyphosate, disease has also elevated. So that's why, it's really cool to drink.
Yeah. Okay. So we're about to get muted but as we go into the third segment, I do need to talk about my sponsors and my show, and then I'll reintroduce you. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Time to dance. Here we go.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show / classroom, where we always learn and grow together. Today's teacher is Beth Greer. She is the author of Supernatural Home. For those of you who are interested in creating your home to be a true sanctuary, this is an excellent book written 10 years ago. This is the 10th anniversary. And so I want to encourage the 10th caller or texter or the 10th messenger on Facebook Live or the 10th email that I get on YouTube. So the phone number is 407-373-5959. And of course, I'm at Lillian's radio show on Facebook.com. So if you want to join us in the live broadcast, you can join us at facebook.com/Lillian's radio show. But you can also join us at whenyouneedafriend.com. You have all the buttons there. You don't even have to remember anything other than whenyouneedafriend.com. And while you're there, subscribe so that way you get the messages of who's going to be on the show, at what time we're going to air. So it's important now more than ever that you subscribe to whenyouneedafriend.com. Also, while you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, there's a bunch of little buttons. There's the social media buttons. You can like me and follow me on Facebook. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every time you connect, you get a little bit more aware or a better chance with all the filtration and all the monitoring that there is. You would have control over the information that's being sent to you from the station. I always protect your identity. We'll never sell that information. So feel free and safe to do so, to subscribe to whenyouneedafriend.com. And so with that in mind, I want you play while you're there, check out the old shows. If you have any questions or any information, you can send me an email with suggestions for the show for topics that we might have. While you're there, make sure you support my sponsors. We have sponsors that are like-minded, like Keep Me Safe Organics. Oh my God. If I wish I could have Rebecca Black of Keep Me Safe Organics here on the show, because there's nothing that is synthetic, everything is organic, everything is safe. And so we want to do things. We protect ourselves. We lock up our chemicals, but yet we put them on our skin through the face of lotion or makeup, and so or shampoo. There's so many different ways that we can heal our bodies. So Keep Me Safe Organics, we have First Alternative Care. If you live in the Brevard County area, we have the pharmacy, which is the best pharmacy ever, and they compound so you don't do the toxic chemicals that you have. So as you know, my registered service mark is you can take a pill, you can take responsibility, and they can do compounds for you as well, for you and your pets. And also, last but not least, we have Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is just an unbelievable way for you to take your freedom back with your health care. Instead of insurance, you can look into Liberty Health Share, and you can find all that information at whenyouneedafriend.com. Oh, and I didn't even mention First Alternative Care. So today we are talking to Beth Greer, and she, because of just a fortunate event. Back then, it was probably a fearful time for her, but now it's her crowning moment. It's the moment where she learned how resilient she was and what a great researcher. And although we are great researchers, we want to research it ourselves. This became her truth, and the stuff that we talk about on the show are my truth. But I want to encourage you to do your own research. Check out the resources in the back of the book. Check out the resources on PubMed.gov so that it becomes your truth, so that you're no longer talking about what Lillian McDermott says or what Beth Greer says, but you say it, this is what I believe because this is what I've researched. I don't know if that makes sense, but I want all of us to take ownership for our lives, and it begins with our own research. And so I'm so grateful to Beth for being on the show today. Supernatural. She's a supernatural mom writing the book Supernatural Home. And if you want to learn more about Beth Greer, you could go to supernaturalmom.com and learn about all her courses that she has and different ways that you can empower yourself. So thank you so much, Beth, for being on the show today. And while we were off the air, we talked about water, and we've done a lot of shows about water and how important it is for us to be safe. But let's talk about what we can do for food as well, what we can do to make sure that we are, that clean 15, dirty dozen, stay away from that. What are other things that we can do to simplify our life, to make our life healthier?
Right. A big trigger in food are artificial additives and preservatives. So food dyes, for example, are very toxic, and they create, they've done studies on kids where if they fed them food dyes, artificial food dyes, only at 60 milligrams, let's say, it creates havoc in their behavior. They start to develop temper tantrums. An average meal for a kid, if you give a kid some macaroni and cheese, a little bag of Skittles, and an orange soda, you're well over 100 milligrams right there of food dye. So, if you're having issues with yourself or your child and you're eating food dyes, that could be just a simple thing that you want to pay attention to swap out and start looking at the labels. Instead of those blue yogurts, if you look at it, it says, FDC blue. Choose one with just plain blueberries, let's say, that haven't been artificially colored. Look for preservatives. So I used to go with a loaf of bread. I always do show and tells at groups, and I had this loaf of bread that I would bring around to show people because it said 100% on it, 100% whole wheat. And my message was, pay attention. If you want to have a certain ingredient, make sure it's 100% not made with, let's say, made with whole wheat, because it could mean only 1%. So I had this loaf of bread in my pantry. It was like 8 months old, and there wasn't a speck of mold on it. I thought, what? And this it hasn't been in my refrigerator or my freezer. So I looked at it, and I read the ingredients, and it said calcium propionate, mold inhibitor. And that calcium propionate can cause ADHD behavior in laboratory animals. So, okay, it's like, what is it doing to us if we're eating this every day? So things like that, simple things. Just get back to just eating real, pure food, and then watch for triggers, inflammatory foods like wheat and dairy and corn and
MSG,
anything processed, right? So, so those the food additives in there, yes.
Yeah. So when you're looking at MSG, unfortunately, we can find it hidden in so many different things. So in your book, you talk about, the different names that you can find. So quick triggers or quick words that we can look for and say, okay, I'm going to put that down. I'm not going to have that. Well,
okay. So that's the thing. So if you're buying packaged food, you want to find food that only has maybe 5 ingredients. And so if you start to see the list, because I don't even remember, and who's going to walk around with a list of words to look up? No, you just want to choose food that has few ingredients or 100% organic, and keep it simple. Those without preservatives. A loaf of bread shouldn't last 8 months. It should last, maybe 3-5 days in the refrigerator. Done. So it's just getting back to basics, getting back to how your grandmother ate, looking at foods that are in cans, for example. Most cans are now sprayed with plastic and has BPA in it. And so one thing to be aware of is that manufacturers now know that the consumers are getting smart and they don't want BPA. So they say BPA free, but they're substituting it with BPS. It's another chemical. It's just as bad, and not, and they're not telling us about it. They're just sort of being coy and saying, oh, it's free from this, but they're not telling you what they're adding in. So, do you suggest that we try, Beth, vegetables from well, first of all, we want fresh, organic, but if we're buying maybe frozen, look for, but frozen, they're in a bag. Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not the same as a can, because first of all, if you're buying tomato sauce in a can, it's acidic and it will leach and pull out the plastic. So I always, if I'm going to buy tomato sauce, I will buy it in a jar. And so try to look for things in jars and fresh as possible. And occasionally, I have things in the freezer. I buy frozen wild berries. Can't find those fresh anywhere, really, except on my bush outside, but only in the summer.
Well, that's the thing, once we get to know this information, and it's all, why reinvent the wheel? Let's do our own research. Open the book, Supernatural Home, and check out the book, read the sources in her research, and then create your own. And so be the 10th caller or texter. That's 407-373-5959. And you win the 10th anniversary. This was written in 2009. And so here we are, learning, and still this stuff is shocking to some people. So 407-373-5959 if you're listening on the radio. If you're watching on Facebook, Facebook Live at Lillian's radio show, send me a private message. And if you are watching later on YouTube, then you can send me an email at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. And we're going to continue our conversation with Beth Greer. We're off the air when we return on the air live at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching, I don't know if you're watching unless you write your name down. That's the thing. So tell us where you're from, where you're watching from, and thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions for our expert, our teacher today, just know that you can write it on the comments section. And also, I just want to say hi to Tracy. Tracy, thank you so much for watching today. We're really so grateful to see you. And for those of you who, again, ask any question that you would like. Now, Beth, as we go into the next segment, which it's so much to learn, so little time. You think, oh my God, what are we going to talk about in an hour? It goes so quickly, doesn't it?
Yes.
And thank you for all the love that we're getting. Okay. Love the info on mold. I just listened to Dave Asprey's book. Okay, hold on a second. And thank you, Victoria. Victoria is listening from Missouri. So Deb says that she just watched or read Dave Asprey's book, Headstrong, the audiobook, and where he discussed mold in coffee, corn, and cashews. Well, peanuts are molded too.
Peanuts
right?
are definitely moldy, but yes, and many of the grains are. But yeah, coffee is big, and so
is it different when we get it before it's ground, or even
no, it's the way the beans are being stored and harvested, and yeah, they need to be tested. So that's, there's a urine test you can get that can measure mold in your bodies, and you can tell whether you've been exposed from a leak, let's say in your home, versus food. And so I discovered that I have 2 mold strains. And because of the level of it, it was just from food. It wasn't from my home, which thank goodness. But so now I'm being very careful about what I eat.
Oh, very good, very good. I want to tell you, interestingly enough. Oh, so Tracy, you're in UK. Oh my goodness, welcome. Okay, so I want to tell you that we share somebody in common, and maybe this is why you feel like you know me. And my voice. Yesterday, I went to my optometrist, and they just got a new building, and it was recarpeted. And let me tell you, I was there 5 seconds, and I said to the doctor, you need to open the windows and the doors because I'm getting sick just by breathing this air. But we shared Dr. Mensa in common, and I hear we're about to get muted. That's probably how you met me. Okay, here we go. We're about to get muted.
Count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show / classroom, where we always learn together. And today's teacher is Beth Greer. You can get her book written 10 years ago, but it's still very much an important read for us. It'll get us started. We're joining her in her journey, just like you're joining me in my journey. We're all in this journey together. And why reinvent the wheel? But research and verify. Trust but verify. Because there's a lot of people out there, they're giving misinformation. And some people are being told that they're giving misinformation, but they're really telling us the truth. So make sure, it's very confusing out there right now. of a really confusing time. You know, we're looking at, you know, water safety and vaccine safety. And we're looking at, you know, there was a time where the government said DDT was very safe too. And so it was not. And it created a lot of problems. And it still does. They say it goes into your DNA. And so there's so many things we don't know. So if you want to be a winner of this book, you have 3 different opportunities. If you're listening on the radio, you can call or text 407-373-5959. For those of you who are watching from all over the world on Facebook Live at Lillian's radio show, you can send me a private message. And if you're watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, I always forget to say YouTube, you can send me an email at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. The first person to send me an email on YouTube will get this. So you give it a try, because we just never know who sends emails like that. You maybe just want to complain, but this is a good thing. You want to get this book. Okay, so we talked about in us, and now let's talk about on us. Let's talk about beauty products. I had mentioned Keep Me Safe Organics a little earlier. And so let's talk about on us and why, if something is approved to be on the shelf, why it has so many chemicals that can make us ill.
Right, because as I said earlier, the cosmetic industry is self-regulated, and it's not. There's no oversight, and so manufacturers can put just about anything they want into a product, and then they wait and see, and it's like, oh, okay, a bunch of people got rashes, so okay, we're going to reformulate or whatever. So it's like in Europe, they have the European Union, and they have a system where they say manufacturers have to prove that it's safe before it goes onto the shelf. Here, it's not that way at all. So you really need to, yes, I wrote this book 10 years ago. I was very ahead of my time, I must say. And
yes, you were.
Every chapter I submit to the editor, she goes, really? They're doing that? Oh, I don't really believe that. And I have to, make sure she saw all the research. But yes, so the thing about cosmetics, I happen to like Beauty Counter, and I have a link on my site if people are interested in that. But they have what they call the never list, so that in Europe they'll never put these ingredients into a product. Mm-hmm. So, but just generally using the safest products and try to get things without preservatives and things like toothpaste, and deodorant. So I'm just using baking soda, and it works perfectly. It's fantastic. I just put some baking soda in a salt shaker. I put it sprinkle on my arm, under my armpit, and I'm good for the day. One of my clients said he wanted a stick deodorant, and we went to the store, and he picked up a thing of Tom's, and the number 2 ingredient was propylene glycol. Mm. It's found in antifreeze, and we're putting that under our armpits, and so. Yeah, and pay attention to things like parabens, for example. Those are preservatives, and they found parabens in about 90% of the breast cancer tumors that were measured. So it's unfortunate. We have to be our own best advocate and know what to choose, but that's why I'm here to help. So
absolutely. And of course, again, for those of you who want to try Keep Me Safe Organics, if you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, you'll get 10% off your entire purchase. That's Keep Me Safe Organics. You go to whenyouneedafriend.com, enter code Lily10, and you'll be able to start your journey if you're not committed to a particular brand. This is an incredible brand that is one that I subscribe to as well. And so now we talked about what's on us, because we only have a little bit time left before we maybe have a conversation off the air for a little bit. But then we're talking about around us, our home, the air we breathe in our home. You say in the book that it's more toxic sometimes than the air outside. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah, the air inside can be very much more toxic than the air outside. So it's important to open your windows, get air into your home. Yes. Very often, people are working in office buildings and they're sealed, and that's a problem. So I recommend getting house plants. There are certain plants that are in the book that will clear the air of.
Why don't you share a few of those so that we can get started?
there's certain lilies, and there's they're called mother-in-law's tongues. I'm trying to remember the name. I have them in my living room, but they're waxy and kind of come to a little point. If you go to your local,
is that a peace lily? Are you talking about the peace lily?
Yes.
Yes.
And also,
and of course, you always want to have lily in your home.
Right. That's
you
true.
can't have me there. You at least have a plant.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. But if you go to your nursery or even your hardware store, I've seen signs that'll say these plants will clear the air. Because there are people who are in the know right now. So that would be a really good thing to do in your home, and especially in your office if your windows are sealed. Look at what you're cleaning with. Sometimes it's so one of my clients, she's all organic and she's very, very conscious, right? But meanwhile, her husband and children all have sinus issues, and they don't know why. They're having headaches and all this. And I come in and she's using Clorox wipes and Swiffer. And it's like, what? You can't, and they smell so strong. And she said, what's wrong with that? I've used it my whole life. And again, highly scented, it's pretty toxic. And I had to send them like articles about, what's in Clorox wipes that are not good for our health, because people, they get defensive about like, well, what am I going to use? What should I use instead of a Swiffer? She asked me.
I know. I just, is it Norwax, or I don't promote.
Oh yeah. Those cloths. You can buy them.
Cloths have silver in them, and they're really good. And there's so many products. I'm telling you, you were back then ahead of your time, but I know that you're even more beyond ahead of us at this time, that you've now had all these years. How has it been? Because we just recently stopped allowing shoes in our home. Great. And we've had a lot of resistance from some people. Not anybody, some people come and go, oh yeah, good, house rules, we'll take off our shoes. But other people go, I'm not taking off my shoes.
Exactly. So I have about 10 pairs of these soft, colorful socks, and I just give them to people, and they're very happy. Yeah. I only had one person who's like, I don't want to take my shoes off because it's going to ruin my outfit. It's like,
well, we bought shoe covers for them.
Oh, okay.
We steam our shoes, our floors with a shark, the shark steamer. And yes. I love that. I had a cleaning lady, that she would just like love to smell how the house would, when she was like, oh, the house smells so clean. Well, no, the house is full of chemicals and toxins right now.
Exactly.
And she ended up getting COPD.
Oh, yeah.
COPD.
Right.
And I do not believe she was a smoker. And she got it from inhaling all these wonderful scents that we don't even know. That's so okay, this is just the tip in the iceberg here, the dip in the toe. And for those of you who want to learn more, you can go to supernaturalmom.com. You can also be the 10th caller or texter, 407-373-5959.
And I just want to say that I have a course, an online course, 4 sessions on how to create a healthy home. I've got a 5-day detox cleanses all throughout the year to just get you eating real whole foods, organic foods, and see how you can transform your health in just less than a week. It's just amazing results.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are after the show, we're going to have a little bit more conversation. We're going to talk specifically about that because I'm interested in her certification classes. At 407-373-5959 will get you the book, 10th caller or texter. And as a messenger at Lillian's radio show, send me a message, and YouTube at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. Thank you so much, Beth Greer, for being the show. I'm looking forward to having you off the air and another conversation there. So thank you so much.
Great. Thanks.
And please remember, for those of you, now you know a new truth. You can't unlearn a truth when you hear it. And you'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, so how much time do we have you for? Because I know that your time is kind of limited.
Yeah, about 12 minutes because I have a 3:30 appointment that I need to get to.
Okay, so let's talk about your courses that you teach. You teach those on Skype or Zoom, or
Yes.
you can go to people's homes, and you live
Right.
in California, in the San Francisco area.
Yeah.
You do a certification course, so let's talk about that real quick.
Well, I don't certify people, but I teach them how to have I go room by room. So I spend usually 2 sessions in the kitchen and then one on personal care products. And then the fourth one is on what surrounds us. So, yeah, I mean, you get to really make a radical changes in your home and in your body. And then my 5 days, I do, winter, spring, fall, what did I say? Yeah.
Seasonal? It's season, winter, spring, summer, fall.
Right. And I'm doing 5-day cleanses with people. It's just whole foods. There's no powders or potions or anything to buy. It's full of recipes and workbook and shopping lists and all that. And we do it together. We have a Facebook Live before and after, and we've got a Facebook group. And I've also now brought in a Qigong expert, and he's going to teach exercises on how to move your digestive juices with ease, using
Nice.
Breath and movement, because that's really also very important. Aside from the food, breath and movement and mind-body techniques really are very helpful in healing. I'm sure you know that. So.
Yes, of course, of course. And, I want to make sure that people know that this show isn't about causing fear. This is about empowering us for information. It's so important that we know these things. And like you said, when you first started doing this, people were going, don't tell me that, don't tell me that, I don't want to know, I don't want to know. Why don't we want to know? Why wouldn't we want to know, the chemicals that we're putting on our skin, the pesticides that we're putting, on our body? And here we are locking up our chemicals from our children. And we didn't even talk about EMFs. We didn't even talk about all the stuff that's in the book. And here's one thing I'd like to talk about, young lady. I want to talk about this skin firming blend of sagging skin and anti-wrinkle treatment. This is very important, groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
I want to know how to keep our skin from sagging.
Yeah.
These are some of the few things that are in this book that we can empower ourselves to do. So,
right, I have a recipe for natural sunscreen too, and that I use all the time. We go to Hawaii. My daughter has very fair skin. It was just ascorbic acid powder and water and some glycerin, and she never burned. It's been,
It's a great book. I'm glad that I have a copy of it, because if this was the only copy I would be getting, then I would not give it away. So I'm glad that you guys have this opportunity. So if you want to be a winner of this book, be the 10th message that you send me. Send me a private message on Messenger at Lillian's radio show. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, you can send me an email, a private email at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com, and you will win. So you just never know when people, you might be the first person a day later to send me a message. So give it a try, see what happens. And so with that in mind, when you're telling people about these things, do you get that, I don't want to know about it, just shut up, because I don't want to hear it?
It's funny because I've known this one woman for 10 years, and I told her that I'm doing a 5-day detox, and and her face went like stone cold, and she's like, I said, what? And she said, I don't believe in toxins. I was like, what? She goes, I feel healthy. I'm healthy. I don't believe in toxins. I don't believe I have to detox. And I just thought, well, okay,
Were you telling her about Santa Claus?
Right?
I don't believe in Santa. It's like, I don't believe in toxins. I mean, these molds in our body, they procreate, they do all the things that we as humans do, and they also poop. And that's what we're allergic to. It's their poop, right?
Yeah, and our gut has more cells in it than our entire body. It's like a whole organism that you need to pay attention to and make sure that you are pooping yourself and eating and eating healthy food and eating fermented foods to help nourish the gut. So many people are just not healthy in that way, and it starts in the gut. I mean, Chinese medicine talks about that, and so it really does start in the gut. If you have leaky gut, which is what I had, from all the antibiotics I took as a child, and then some of the foods that I had been eating that I didn't know I was sensitive to, like wheat, for example, it starts to degrade the little cilia that's in our intestines, and then it creates cracks, and then the toxins get into our bloodstream and create havoc. So
yeah,
it's part of the reason I got the tumor. So,
and just because we don't believe something doesn't make it not real. Just because I say it's not real, that doesn't make it not real. And I know our minds are powerful, but if I'm going to smell bleach all day long, it's going to do something to my lungs. And I'm very sensitive to smells. And yesterday when I went into my doctor's office, I was like, I was like thinking like Beth Greer, I'm going to walk around here and I'm going to just clean up his environment. But the door was closed, and all the women that were there were like going, they were like, I'm so glad you said something, but they were not, but that's what happens. We don't know how to speak up because we don't want to offend anybody.
Right.
And in the meantime, we're the one that pay for it. Now, I do want to talk about something sensitive, and I know that this is something that you've shared before, but I do want to talk about addiction. And I want to talk about, I said you and I have something in common, which is Dr. Albert Mensa, DHA Labs. We have given away so many of these labs. And so I would love for you to share. I mean, I didn't even know that you had a connection to him. And so this isn't rehearsed or anything, but can you share your experience with Dr. Albert Mensa, DHA Labs, and how the outcome of this?
Well, my daughter, when she was about, I guess, 15, 16, started like getting involved with drugs and alcohol. And we were thinking, well, all the kids are smoking. But it got to the point where she was doing it every day. She was smoking marijuana every day. And so, and then she started, getting a little violent. And this friend of mine said to me, oh, you should get her brain biochemistry tested through DHA Labs. And so I kind of held off for a while, and then one day she kicked in my kitchen cabinet door, and I was like, okay, pee into this cup right now, and we're going to, and I got her blood done. And like a couple of days later, we had to take her to the ER because she had alcohol poisoning, and wound up sending her to a wilderness program. And so the blessing is that the lab results came back, and I had a consult with Dr. Mensa, and he said to me, your daughter is not an addict. She's self-medicating. Her stress levels are high. She can't tolerate stress, and she's trying to quiet her mind down, and that's why she's smoking and drinking. So he put her on supplements, and what was great was in wilderness, they gave her the supplements twice a day, so she was compliant. And so she breezed through there, and she's now sober, clean and sober for, it's been 4 years, and she's still on supplements, and she's doing really well. And I recommend that lab, to anyone who's struggling with any kind of psychological issue or addiction as well. So, yeah.
Yes. And I met Bill Walsh, and I have his book, Nutrient Power, really close by, because you just, as a life coach, you never know, what comes up in a session. And it's really nice to have all these wonderful resources that I'm not the expert. I just point them to the experts. And when I stumbled upon your book, I'm like, gosh, you feel so familiar to me. And we even said that to one another.
Right.
And I know we were destined to meet. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, welcome, Yvonne. Yvonne is watching from Malaysia. So when I say we're worldwide, we've got UK, we have Malaysia, we have Missouri, so who else is watching, and where else are you from? We'd love to welcome you, and I'm loving all the love that we're getting. And so if you have any questions for Beth, we only have her for a little bit longer, and this is your opportunity to have an expert and ask her. And Beth, there's so much that's in your book. And what I love about your book, now that we don't have to worry about the time other than the time that you have to go. What I love about the book is that you offer us alternatives. Not everybody is going to want to do the same thing, but there are alternatives for everybody to fit what their lifestyle is. So if there's anything that you would like to share, if there's anything that you would like to share that maybe we didn't talk about, what would you like to share?
Gosh, we talked about so much. So what specifically in terms of,
Well, we didn't talk a lot about our environment. Let's talk about EMFs because I just had Lloyd Burrell on the show. Ellen Jacobs has been on the show, and actually, Smart and Safe. They're going to be coming on the show because I use their earbuds. I use them because I want to make sure I don't have EMFs going into my ears.
Yeah, so I started using this pendant, Smart Dots. Let's see.
Yeah.
Because we're being inundated with so many EMFs, and it's hard to block everything. And so I think, it's hard to know because my meters don't pick up, because it's not a blocking thing, but what they say that they do is create a field around us, or around 3 feet, to help us to sort of not be as so affected by the fields that we're exposed to. So, but I know in my own home, I started unplugging everything in my bedroom, because even if it's turned off, like a lamp, if it's plugged into the wall, it's still creating a field. So I didn't realize how many. I had 2 lamps, I had an air purifier, a diffuser, my cell phone charger, and I just thought, okay, I just unplugged everything, and I've been sleeping so deeply. It's made all the difference.
We've been wanting to do that in our home, but interestingly enough, we live in a condo. We live in a condo, and my husband was told, yeah, you just shut off your Wi-Fi, you shut off your router, you shut off, but your neighbors could have a lot of other things around them. And so that was discouraging to him, but he's now trying to think of different ways to make our environment safe so that we can, because I know I am sensitive, and I found out I was sensitive with it when I had my Fitbit. I was like, I tried sleeping with it and I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to monitor my sleep through Fitbit, but I just couldn't.
Yeah, so that's the thing, because I'm sensitive as well. So I do turn off my router every night. I recommend everybody do that. But if you start unplugging, that would be another layer of peace. Peace lily, right?
Yeah,
so
if you can't be in my home, I might as well be in yours. So yes. So yeah, I love lilies. I don't know, ironically enough or coincidentally enough, that's my name. So I do. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to surround myself with more, because I say that I have a black thumb, but knowing that these are my friends, and that if I were to buy some plants, would that be better than an air purifier? Because
not
it's not
better,
plugged in?
but no, I wouldn't say better, but
what would you say then?
Side by side studies to say which is better, but both would be good. I say the same thing about myself. I have a black thumb, but I moved into a home and I have a garden. I've got an orange tree and lemon trees, and so I'm working it. I'm trying to find out, okay, when do I start to fertilize them, and all organic. It's lovely, because now if I'm hungry, I go out in the backyard and I can pick an orange in the tree. It's lovely.
Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? Well, I tell you what, I think that perhaps maybe we should have another conversation, because I do want to talk about our children and how our children are being bombarded not only with all these artificial foods, because it's convenient. It's convenient to whip up some macaroni and cheese. And I've just stopped. I stopped buying instant anything. And I'm thinking, how difficult is it to boil water? How difficult is it to boil water where you could just put water, boil it, add oatmeal to it?
It's funny that you say that, because one of my clients, she'd have her child, a little baby, in one of those little rocking, thing, like seats on the countertop, and she'd microwave her oatmeal every morning. So first of all, I measured the field coming off this thing was huge. And second, I said, why are you microwaving your oatmeal? She goes, I said, you could buy like a 2-minute oatmeal and cook it in the stove. Well, then I have to wash the pot. It's like, okay, well, is wash the pot, have your baby be, have some awful thing happen to you, because every day it's getting irradiated. So she got it. But I don't know, we've gotten to be, I think because people don't realize how it can impact us and how it can cause brain fog and all kinds of, cognitive issues and joint pain and autoimmune suppressant and all that stuff. So,
Well, I tell you what, I think the word that was downloaded from our creator to your heart was simplify. And I think we've forgotten the basics, how to boil water, how to make our own food, how to grow. I love my little herb garden. I had to tear it down because it got something on it, and I had to start over again, which is the spring. So that's okay. And so I'm going to start my little garden, my herb garden again. And nice. I told my husband that if I ever come back, I'm going to come back as basil, because I love the scent of basil. Oh. So if you smell basil, just remember me. Although lilies it would have been easy, but I just love basil.
And I'm loving mint, and it's so easy. You cannot kill mint.
It takes over. Takes over.
Put it in a pot, then you're fine, because it won't take over. And it's fantastic. I put it in my smoothies with parsley and cilantro and mint. It's so good. It's so good.
Parsley, cilantro,
and mint.
I love that.
It's fantastic. I don't know, those three together just feed my cells,
I would love to be able to grow cilantro, but every time I try it, it's
very hard.
I know. Basil? I am like the queen of basil and mint. Apparently. Okay. And so I guess I'll just get a new pot for my mint. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, good.
Because it just took over. It just wanted to take over.
Right.
But anyway, I want to be sensitive to your time. I want to thank you, Beth. And I hope that we can do another show in the future, because we just dipped our toe.
I'd love to. And I want to find out how you know Dr. Mensah. So
we'll talk off the air. Okay. We'll talk off the air. Great. And so we're gonna say goodbye on Facebook. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us. Please share this video. Share it with all your friends. We're just, this is just to get us to start going, what else can I do to simplify? That's the word, simplify. What else can I do to empower myself, to reconnect with my spirit, with my soul, with all those things? So let's just start that conversation. Again, the book is called Supernatural Home. And if you want the book, be the 10th caller, text her. And there we go. You can even
it's been in Spanish, right? Translated.
La Casa Natural.
Sí.
Oh, wonderful. So if you want La Casa Natural, can we give the La Casa Natural? That's very good.
Yeah, on Amazon.
What other languages?
Yeah. That's the only one so far.
I have a feeling it's gonna. I'm looking forward to that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. Is anything that you wish you would have added to this that you kind of missed?
No, I didn't miss anything. I put everything into that book.
That is awesome. That's why you are the journalist, 50 journalist to look after or look out after. So, okay, so let's share, like it, make your comments, and let's spread the word of empowerment and this new truth that our bodies were made to heal if given what it needs. So with that, we'll say goodbye. Say goodbye, Beth.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. We're going to say goodbye. Okay, we're going to say goodbye on the stream and on YouTube. Okay.